Hey, it's your friend CJ here. This is my Week 6 battle for the PMC Season Number 2. We are the Baltimore Oriolus, and our opponent this week is none other than Jspecks, coach of the Hamden Hydreigons. Jspecks is a very good friend of ours. He's also the commissioner of this league. So there is a lot riding on this battle, both for personal glory, the battle between two good friends. There's a lot of pressure on Jspecks because he's in a tight division race. And also, just every game is big for him because he's the commissioner, so people are expecting a lot out of him. It's also a big game for us because if we go down in this game, we're going to drop to 3-3, and that is not the position that we want to be in. We have a very competitive division after losing a game to Verd last week, and him being 4-0. No, if he had 5-0, he was 5-0 when he beat us, and also Dr. V having a very scary team and a very good record of his own. We really need to come through in this game. And so, if you didn't watch my team builder, this is the team that we have. We have a Life Orb Tornadus, a max speed, max special attack Tentacruel, a Swords Dance Breloom with Fist Plate and Fling, Spadef, Steelix with Stealth Rock and Roar, a Scarf Salamence, and a Jspecks Sylveon. He has brought Meloetta, Arcanine, Blastoise, Raikou, Mega Gardevoir, and Ninjask. So right off the bat, I am really surprised not to see Kyurem, just because I think it's just so hard to deal with. I don't have a Pokemon that can really switch in on it. Steelix can take one Earth Power, but definitely can't take two. So basically I just have to sack something every time and either go into something that can revenge it, or go into Steelix, which can take one hit and retaliate with a Gyro Ball. I guess Steelix can come in like on a Dragon move. Can't really come in on an Ice Beam all that well, but maybe it can live in Ice Beam plus an Earth Power. I don't actually remember off the top of my head what that calc looks like. But other than that, things like Ninjask kind of scare me because he could Baton Pass a speed boost into Gardevoir or something like that. Arcanine is a very big problem for my team. I don't have a great way of dealing with it. I basically just have Tentacruel that can do super effective damage to it. I also have Salamence, which can hit it with an Earthquake, but the Arcanine is probably going to have Intimidate, and so that's just not a great option. And yeah, I also am, I'm suspecting a couple of his sets. Like I'm expecting a Assault Vest Raikou. I think a Spadef Arcanine is fairly likely. Calm Mind Meloetta is something I'm also very afraid of. I don't have a great way of dealing with that. It's basically just like using U-Turn from Tornadus to whittle it down. So we'll see what kind of sets he ends up bringing, and in any event, I am expecting this to be a very good match, and I hope that you guys do end up enjoying it. So let's go ahead and hop right on into it. So I am going to lead with my Tornadus just because it's a pretty good universal lead most of the time. There's not going to be a lot of things that I can't U-turn out on first turn. He's going to lead off with his Ninjask, and he goes for the U-turn right away. Now based off of this damage, I can actually determine that it's banded. As you can see, it does like 35% or so. So it's good to know that this thing is banded and it's not going to be like a Protect Baton Pass set. And that just makes me a little bit less worried about it. In any case, I have no reason not to go for knockoff. I am expecting the Raikou to come in. Instead, he goes for Blastoise. So that loses its leftovers, which is nice for me. I go ahead and U-turn on out. I don't have a super good Scald switch in. I could go into Tentacruel, but I'd like to save the Tentacruel in the back for either the Arcanine or the Gardevoir. So the best option for me is to go into my Sylveon, because even though it's pretty offensive, it's got full special attack investment and a good bit of speed investment. Just its natural bulk allows it to take this Scald relatively well. We do unfortunately get the burn, but that's fine. We don't need Sylveon to live for super long. We just need it to get a couple of big hits off. I am anticipating the Arcanine switch in here because he has nothing else that can take a Hyper Voice. So in anticipation of that, I am going to go ahead and click Baton Pass. This is going to give me a switch into another Pokemon, and I decided that Tentacruel is going to be the right choice here because, again, I don't have anything else that can really mess with this thing. I just go ahead and expecting him to switch out. I actually go for a layer of Toxic Spikes. And he brings in the Gardevoir. Traces my Clear Body, which doesn't matter, but it's just funny to point out. The Toxic Spikes are going to be a big problem for him, because yes, he does have Blastoise to spin, but Blastoise itself doesn't want to get poisons, especially now that it's got its leftovers knocked off. He is going to go ahead and Mega Evolve. He's not expecting me to be fully offensive, So I'm actually going to click Sludge Wave and outspeed this thing. And that's going to take it down to like 40%, which is excellent. Then he goes for Substitute, which is still pretty good for me, because now he's at an even lower amount of health. And I'm going to be able to outspeed again on this turn and go for Sludge Wave. He is going to follow up with a Psyshock here, as you'll see in a moment, but if you watched my Team Builder video, you know that this Tentacruel actually has a Pyapa Berry to help him take this move here. I almost put it as Wakan Berry just to deal with something like Wild Charge Arcanine, but when I thought about it, I knew that his Arcanine was going to have to be defensive, so it didn't make sense to take off the Pyapa Berry. So, not wanting to lose his Gardevoir just yet, he is going to switch on out and bring in the Liger Zero. I'm just going to go for Scald because it's going to kill the Gardevoir at that point, and if he does something crazy like go into Ninjask or Arcanine or something like that, it'll be nice to get a little bit of damage and have the potential burn chance. Based on the damage, it does look like it is Assault Vest Raikou, as I was expecting. And he goes for the Extra Sensory, just taking me out. I didn't want to switch in anything on this. I could have switched in Steelix pretty easily. But, you know, I didn't know if he was packing Aura Sphere or not. And I wasn't ready to take that chance yet. But I am going to go and go my Steelix now because I know that I can take 2 of them. I didn't want to like switch in on a Aura Sphere prediction, but if I'm sitting it in front of it and haven't taken any damage yet, it should be fine. So I have a pretty good opportunity to just go for Earthquake. Even if he wants to bring in the Ninjask, you know, there's really nothing that the Ninjask can do to me that's gonna make me scared. I can just go for Heavy Slam, or sorry, Gyro Ball on it the next turn. And so this Blastoise ends up taking a good chunk of damage, and it is going to die on the following turn to Toxic Spikes. So I actually stay in, you know, risking getting hit by a Scald and potentially getting burned by the Scald. If he wanted to do that and not get away the Toxic Spikes, that was fine with me. And, you know, I was willing to you know, take damage on this to keep as many hazards up as possible. And I do even manage to get up my Stealth Rocks as the thing goes down. So he takes away my Toxic Spikes, but leaves behind the rocks, which is great. Meloetta comes in, and I don't really know what kind of set this is. And so I go into my Torn just to kind of try and figure out. It can take a Psyshock or whatever move if needed. And hits me up with a Focus Blast, doesn't do very much. He decides to switch on out. And I was expecting the Raikou again, but he instead goes into the Arcanine. This should have kind of further proven to me that this was a Spadef Arcanine, but I didn't really quite put it together at this point, but it ends up not really making a big difference. We just U-turn. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage. But again, we don't have a great switch in for this thing. So all I want to do is try and get this thing weakened, because then Salamence is looking like it can revenge it if needed. I also have Tornadus, which can kill it with a Sludge Wave. So I go for the Mach Punch when I know that, you know, I don't have an Intimidate on me right now, so Mach Punch with a Fist Plate boost can still do a decent amount of damage. He just goes for Will-O-Wisp. So what I'm going to do on the next turn is actually go for a Swords Dance, and the reason I do this is because I want him to not stall me out with the Morning Sun. I want him to be at a low amount of health and feel like he has to kill me with Flare Blitz. Because if I do eventually, you know, get to like +4 or +6 with this thing, I am definitely a threat. But again, I just want to keep on basically spamming Mach Punch, keep this thing low, and make him have to kill me with Flare Blitz, because then I can revenge it with whatever I need to. And so I am going to go for the Mach Punch here, and with the +2 boost, it mitigates the burn. I'm able to get this thing down to about 45%, and he is easily going to take me out. So Breloom didn't really do anything this match, at least that's how it would seem on the surface, but the fact that I was able to get this thing low, and look, and, you know, even the fact that it took the Flare Blitz recoil is actually a huge deal. Because now this Arcanine is no longer a switch-in for anything, especially with the rocks being up. The rocks being up is really, really important. So he is going to go on into his Gardevoir, and it actually is going to die to the Stealth Rock here, as I did click the Sludge Wave. I don't remember if I calced it for him being specially defensive or just the normal Impish set, but I was confident that it would be able to kill. So now he goes into the Raikou. I haven't seen its item. Like, I mean, I strongly suspect that it's Assault Vest, but just in case I did some sort of like weird calc, and and he's actually Scarf instead of Assault Vest. I decided to go into my Steelix here, as he goes for the extra sensory, and we are Spadef Steelix, so we're going to take very, very little from this. And it's really nice that this Raikou is getting very whittled, because now it's getting in range of something like Knockoff from Tornadus, or any type of move from Steelix. He's going to switch on out and go into his Ninjask. As I just click Earthquake, as I mentioned before, if I found myself in this situation, it's actually good for me, because there's nothing that this Ninjask can do to me. As you see, its best move to hit me is Night Slash, and this Gyro Ball probably does like 200% minimum to a base 160 speed Pokemon. So we are able to take that out. He is now going to send in the Meloetta. He could go for Focus Blast here. I am pretty sure that I can take one. And he actually goes for Psyshock, and we are able to go for Earthquake and get this thing to a pretty low amount of health. And he's going to then switch on out, bring in his Kielbasa. This thing is, as I mentioned, because I kept it so low, it's not really going to be able to do a whole lot. And it's actually going to die to a Gyro Ball. I don't know precisely why I clicked Gyro Ball instead of Earthquake. I think it was a misclick, because everything he had on his team at this point was grounded. But luckily, we were able to knock that out. No big deal. And Meloetta comes back in. He is going to click the Focus Blast, and going to bring me down all the way to literally 1 HP, which definitely stinks. I bet it was a roll. And now we can go for Earthquake and take this thing out. So Steelix putting in the work, getting a kill on Gardevoir, killing Arcanine, killing Meloetta, killing Ninjask, literally 4 kills. This thing has been a really great part of our team so far this season. Brings in the Raikou. I could try and play around here with Differential, but it really doesn't matter. It's not worth it. He goes for Hidden Power Ice in case I did do something cheeky like that, like go into Tornadus. Or not sure, yeah, either Tornadus or Salamence is the big one. But I just let my Steelix go down. We're up 3 Pokemon to 1. We have a Scarf Salamence, and we are going to be able to kill this thing with the Outrage. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to give us a pretty nice 3-0 victory over my good friend Jspecks. So I want to give a big shout out to him for a great battle. It's actually kind of funny. This battle that we played, he didn't save the battle code, so I had to send him the code from my side. So then he recorded that, and then I had my good friend Alcoholic Gamer Boy record it, but I accidentally sent him the wrong code. So when Jspecks was done with his recording, he sent it to me, but it works out because it was played from his side, or sorry, it was played from my side, even on his recording. So I do want to thank Jspecks for helping me out with that after I made a kind of a goofy mistake, sending the wrong battle code. And he was a real good sport about this. It's always tough when you lose, especially for Jspecks, because he really wants to do well in this league, and now he's 3-3. And we are able to elevate ourselves to 4-2, which is nice. But he could have been a bad sport about it, but he wasn't. He took the loss like a champ. And it's so cool. Jspecks is always, right after he battles, win or lose, he's always excited for the next one. He always team builds right after he plays his game, for that previous week, just because he's got his juices flowing and he's ready to battle some more. And so I think that's the right attitude that you got to have. Just deal with it. Don't let it affect you. Move on and just be excited about the game that you played and the game that you're going to play next. So make sure you go check him out if you have not already done so. My suspicions are, if you are familiar with the PMC, you are subbed to Jspecks. But give him a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And make sure you guys check out the next week's battle. It is going to be against our good pal D-Pad Gamer, and he's got a really crazy team that we will talk about in the next week. And that's going to do it for me. So do want to thank you guys for watching. Please make sure you check back for more Pokemon content. And until the next time, I will see you all later.